Hi there, it's Julie with Steam Cat, and today we're going to block some buckram. Yay! So what I have here, I have just some craft buckram. I have a block, I have a dry iron, I have a spray bottle, I have a steamer in case I need it. Hello. And we're gonna try and block this. And then I have a dry one. I'm gonna show you what happens after it dries. So pardon the shininess here. Um, this is just a piece of craft buckram, and I got it wet under the faucet and let it rest for a few minutes. So I lay it kind of diagonal on my block and then start stretching and putting it in. And I'll talk about this hat block in a minute, and I'll also talk to you about this. You want a spinner? You want a cheap spinner? This was a paper towel holder, and I just cut it short, and the bottom of my block goes on it, and there you go. I can spin it, and it actually works great. And it cost me $2, $4. I don't know, it was cheap. Okay, so I've got the four corners done, and then I go back in and go in between those, and it's just kind of a lather, rinse, and repeat process. So these two hat blocks that I've got, I'll talk about those while I'm blocking. I found them at a thrift store for $10 each, and they're balsa wood. They've been well used and well loved, but hey, it was a good price, and I'm getting a lot of use out of them too. The lady at the thrift store was kind of surprised. It's like, well, aren't you using these for decoration? No, they're working hat blocks. So the one thing you need to do is keep it as taut as you can and get rid of as many of the wrinkles as you can. Now, this is going to be a fascinator, which is why it's not a very big block. And when we get to the other one, I'll show you, but I'm probably just going to use the top part of this. So it's going to be nice and smooth, but the less I have to do for it when it's dry, the better, because, you know, why do extra work if you don't have to? So I think maybe one or two more pins and we'll have it done. I mean, you can keep putting pins all the way around everywhere you have some wrinkles. But like I said, I know that this is going to be a fascinator and probably just the top of here, so I'm not as worried about wrinkles below this point that I've outlined for you. And I'm just using T-pins. They're like what you might use with a wig on a wig block. And I'll just use basic sewing pins on here sometimes. I have a set of sewing pins that I've labeled for hat use only, because you really don't want to sew with these after you've put them in a block, because if you watch the Buckram blocking video, you know this stuff has a glue or sizing in it, and you don't want to get that on your nice fabric. And when you cut the buckram, you want to use your not the fabric scissors. Okay, I think this is going to be about as set as it needs to be for now. So I'm going to put this aside and bring back another one. Here we go. Now, one thing I forgot to mention before, I've taken all my pins out except a couple, but always cover your block with plastic wrap or foil or something, because you want to protect both your block and the buckram or the wool or whatever you're going to be using. So I had this in here. I had already measured it center front and center back. So this is actually in good shape. The next thing I would do if I needed to is to take a dry iron, don't take a wet one, and just kind of go over this to finish smoothing out your buckram. There's a little bit of a bump there. Sometimes you get bumps on it, especially if you're using homemade buckram. It's not going to be entirely smooth, but I'll show you what you do about that in a minute. Okay. Now, I have marked this already, so I'm going to take this off and show you this. Like I said, it's balsa wood. It's been well used. It's been well loved, but it's still getting a lot of love and use here. So I'm going to move all that aside and get my Not the Fabric scissors. And I'm just going to cut this out roughly, and then I'll go back around the line. And I'm going to warn you right now that I have my Klutz certification expert level, so this isn't going to be as pretty as you might see on some YouTube videos. Gasp, the horror of it all. But it's going to be okay, because I'll show you next what we do with these. There, it's cut out. Ta-da! Now, if you decided you needed to do some more with your buckram, this is why we have a steamer. And you can steam it up and get it pliable again. You can also get it pliable again with the spray bottle. So there's plenty you can do if you need to, but we don't need to worry about getting this pliable again. In fact, pardon me while I toss this aside. So now we have, and I can keep fiddling with this all day if I wanted to, but I won't. So we have this marked center back and center front, and I'm going to grab a pencil and transfer these markings to the back. Because these are handy when you start to make when you start to put your hats or your fascinators together, you know where the center is on both sides. Very handy to know. Now I'm going to set that aside and show you what the next steps are. Now these are a couple of fascinators that I use in workshops, and I just show them around, so they're not as pretty and they're kind of ratty, but that's okay. It's, you know, they're meant to be passed around. So the next step I would do is put some millinery wire on here. And if you don't have millinery wire, where's this other one? This I like to show. It's a 18 gauge, I think, electrical wire that I bought at Walmart. For a fascinator, it's fine, you know, and for light millinery work, it's fine. So don't go stressing over that. So the next thing I do, and you see I have this labeled, I cover this with twill tape and or bias tape, and what I do is I lay it down and I swirl it with my iron, and I won't do that here because this is a rubber surface, which is why I have that on a hot plate holder. And then this is glued on. You don't have to do that, but this is a step that they call mulling. And I use some flannel. You can use cotton. There used to be a fabric called mull that was made out of cotton. That's M-U-L-L. If you don't have the captions turned on, it's mull, M-U-L-L. So what you do is you steam your hat block base. You steam the mulling a little bit and you put them together and they will stay stuck long enough for you to work on your hat. So you don't have to glue this down. So I did this for a demo, like I said. So this hat is ready to be, if I were making a hat or a fascinator out of this, it would be all ready to go. But obviously not. But you can also see that I've marked the center forward and back up here so I can see what I'm doing since it's glued down. Otherwise, I can pick this up a little bit and say, oh, there's my line, which I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. So that's Buckram Blocking. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, share and enjoy, and thank you for your support of SteamCat. We'll see you next time.